Good afternoon, class. I've gotten a few questions about number 4 and 5 on the homework, so I just want to go through a little video to show you how to do it in StatCrunch. So here we're looking at number 4. We have construct a confidence interval for P1 minus P2 at the given confidence or given level of confidence. In our case, we have x1 is equal to 396, n1 is equal to 514, x2 is equal to 403. 403, N2 is equal to 552, and our confidence level is 95%. So let's go ahead and open StatCrunch. So once StatCrunch opens, this is what you'll see. We go to Stat. And remember, we're doing population proportion, so we're going to go to proportion stats. In the last section, we had one sample. Now we have two samples, and we have with summary data. We don't have a data set. So from the problem, just remember over here, we have x1 is equal to 396. Number of observations is equal to 514. Number of successes for sample 2 is 403. The number of observations for sample 2 is 552. And the problem asks for us to do the confidence interval, so make sure you check confidence interval, and in our case we're doing a 95%, which is already there. So let's click compute. And as you see here, it gives us our lower and upper limit. Let me write those down, see how many decimal places we needed. 3 decimal places, so here we have negative 0.012 when we round for our lower limit, and our upper limit is 0.092. So let's see, 0.012 and 0.092. Check answer. There we go. So that's how you do number 4. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. Let's go to the next question and look at number 5. Let's clear this out so we can look at a new one. So number 5, in this case, we're dealing with, again, population proportions of 2 samples. So in a clinical trial of a vaccine, 12,000 children were randomly divided into 2 groups. The subjects in group 1, the experimental group, were given the vaccine, while the subjects in group 2, the control group, were given a placebo. Of the 6,000 children in the experimental group, 76 developed the disease. So right there we know that our x1 is equal to 76. And of the 6,000 children in our control group, 107 developed the disease. So it's x2. And N1 and N2 are 6,000. So determine whether the proportion subjects in the experimental group who contracted the disease is less than the proportion of subjects in the control group who contracted the disease at an alpha equals 0.1 level of significance. So we're going to write down alpha equals 0.1 for reference. So remember, we're trying to test it to see if the P1 experimental group is less than P2. So remember from my announcement this week, I showed you how to go through that. Remember, that means that P1 minus P2 is less than 0. Remember, we're looking at P1 is less than P2, and if you just subtract P2 from both sides, you get P1 minus P2 is less than 0. So we find that alternative hypothesis right here. Let's check our answer. Nice work. So determine the test statistics. So we've gotten this question a couple times on a couple different problems. So to do this, let's go to StatCrunch. Again, you can calculate this manually. I just posted it's in the announcement from week 5. It's also under the general questions discussion board under module 5 questions. I just posted that equation there, but for this case, let's do it in StatCrunch. So let's click on question help, go down, click on StatCrunch. And as you can see, I always get the pop-up blocker. If you guys ever have a problem with the windows not popping up, just check your pop-up blocker. Okay, so again, we're doing population proportions and we're looking for the test statistic. So click on stat, go down to proportion stats, to sample with summary. So again, I wrote down our numbers. We have X1 is equal to 76. The number of observations is 6,000. The number of successes for the second population is 107. And again, the number of observations is 6,000. In this case, we're not looking for the confidence interval. We're looking to do a hypothesis test. So we already determined in the first part that it's a less than. So always make sure that you have the proper comparison here. Less than, greater than, or does not equal. Click compute. And you'll see over here, we get a lot of numbers, but the one we're looking for right now is our test statistic. That's right here under ZStat. And that says to round to 2 decimal places. So here we have negative 2.31. Let's check that. Negative 2.31. Check answer. Excellent. The next one asks us to find the p-value. We can find that in the same window that we just found the test statistic. Right next to it, automatically generates it. So in our case, our p-value, round to 3. So we're doing 0.011 because we round up. 0.011. Okay. So now what does that mean for us? So remember, we were given an alpha of 0.1. So in this case, our p-value is equal to 0.011, which is less than 0.1, which is our alpha. So in this case, we would reject the null hypothesis. So in this case, we go down to find reject the null hypothesis, and that means that there's sufficient evidence to support our alternative. So you can see here in part B, it says not sufficient evidence to support our alternative hypothesis. So we know the answer is C. Check answer. Well done. So that's how you can do all of problem 4 and 5 in StatCrunch step by step. If you guys have any questions or that's still not clear, please contact me or use that general questions tab. Like I said, I opened up a thread for module 5 questions. Thank you.